Dear Chris and Peaches, firstly, I would like to thank you for your content. It has been really helpful for my partner and I to discuss our relationship in a way that is non-confrontational. It has opened up a dialogue that I feel awkward to broach without third-party content to discuss. I would love your opinion and advice on this, but I understand you must get so many emails, so even if you don't get around to reading this, I would believe that physically writing it out will help me get it out of my head. I apologize if this is confusing. Please let me know if you need any further clarification. I would also like to preface that I will be using the term crossing my boundaries instead of getting lap dances from strippers, as those terms can trigger me, but I would like to get through this email with a level head. Also, I do see this as cheating, but I have no evidence that he did cheat on me in the most well-known sense. I also view that as cheating.
So do I.
Yeah.
So do I. You are getting an emotional need filled. No emotional need filled. That you should be allowing your partner to do for you.
So what would you say to all the dudes? It's not an emotional need. I just like ass. She's just shaking her ass.
You don't think that's an emotional need? You don't think that that's a base desire? That's not logical brain thinking? Get some post-nut clarity and tell me I'm wrong.
Ooh.
All that money you spend at a strip club, go rub one out before you go to the strip club and tell me you still want to go to the strip club. It's an emotional need.
I love that you said that.
It's the way I view it.
Oh, you're so hot.
We really are, as a whole, in America, emotionally fucking weak as hell.
Oh yeah.
It's pathetic.
Oh yeah. It makes me kind of sad to think about with how our kids are being raised, that they're going to be raised in a generation with a lot of very weak-minded individuals.
Yeah.
And they're not going to have they're going to be us.
Yeah.
Unless they go down other roads.
I would rather them be like us and have an overall strength and character that others lack than to be like other people.
Yeah.
I don't care if that makes me sound like I have a superiority complex or whatever, but like I really look down on weakness.
Me too.
Especially for people that aren't doing the things to build themselves up. Mm-hmm. And it's not even I'm better than you. Because it's not. I have a whole bunch of shortcomings. I know that shit, but I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I want to clarify. My life is dope. I am very happy. There are times where you and I look at each other and be like, you want to go to a concert? Concert would be fun. It's a lot of people, though. Let's not go.
Yeah. Happens all the time.
So we do enjoy our activities. The thought of things are nice. Mm-hmm. But actually going out and doing it, I'm good.
Yeah.
And we don't have that close-knit friend circle where we go out and do things once a month. And it can get a little bit lonely. You're right. I would rather the kids have that versus fake friends and people using them and backstabbing. And
yeah. You'll never be betrayed by an enemy.
Yeah. My partner and I have been together for 7 years. We are not married, but have 2 children together. We were engaged at one point, but we split up soon after our first child was born and got back together. We have discussed the topic since then, but have not been in the best financial position to do so.
What are you doing to change that? That goes for all of you.
Yeah, that's a very good question. If you're in a poor financial situation, what are you going to do about it?
Yep.
I want that on a t-shirt.
What you going to do about it?
What are you going to do about it? I've been asking people a lot of that recently.
Right, because when you do that, it makes them, you're engaging them and basically telling them they're a victim with a question. Mm-hmm. So they have to think about it. Because they can't look you in the face and be like, nothing.
Right.
Because then they have to admit the fact that it's their own shortcomings that's got them where they're at right now. Mm-hmm. I just don't like that shit. I don't care how stacked the deck is against you. You have options.
You really do.
It might be real fucking hard. But I gotta be honest, I'd rather face that hard than look back at my life with fucking resentment and regret for all the shit that I could have done that I didn't.
This is going to be a very dark analogy. I have thought a lot about being in situations where I'm held captive. Because I would rather think about those situations. I've watched videos, like I've practiced shit with zip ties on my wrists and like
Zip ties are really easy to get out of.
I know. I've tried it with handcuffs.
Duct tape too.
There was a time where I was trying to learn how to dislocate my shoulder in case I ever needed to. Getting kidnapped was very prevalent for me, especially when I wasn't all tattooed, like I looked like a normal person. Being tattooed and pierced makes me less likely to be trafficked. When I wasn't looking like this, I wanted to make sure like I could do whatever I needed to do to not just let things happen. So, if I were in a situation where I am forcibly put into a straitjacket, you best believe I'm going to dislocate my shoulder. I'm going to break whatever I need to break to get out of that thing instead of just sitting there and accepting what's about to come to me. You always have an option.
Right.
It's not going to be your favorite option. You're not going to want to do it. You always have an option. Do people not think about things like that?
I don't know. That's not something that I've ever put thought into. I've put thought into to escape shit.
Yeah.
And like the fact that is like SEER training. You know, you can do that as a civilian. It's not to the same extreme, but you can do that as a civilian. It's just about a matter of having a plan. I don't know. My thought on all that was obviously very different than yours because I wasn't thinking about being trafficked or put in a straitjacket.
What do you mean your thought process was
I was
different?
thinking about leveling up in life and like getting shit done and
No.
choosing your hard versus
My point was you always have an option no matter how difficult the situation can be.
right. Yeah, you're not always gonna like the option, but you got one.
Right.
Agree with that.
That was my point in all of that.
Gotcha. You just went to real extremes to get it.
Yeah, very extreme. I think when I take things to the extreme, everything in front of that is less of a big deal.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
When you think about it, if you have the option of cooking something healthy tonight or going and get McDonald's and you hear, I'm in a straitjacket, am I going to break my arm to get out of it? I'm going to sit there.
All right, we're eating healthy so that she doesn't have to break her shoulder tonight.
Not that hard of a decision. And if that's not how you think,
It's not.
less chaotic than I am.
What would you say your alignment is in terms of D&D? Are you chaotic neutral?
I would say chaotic good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think I'm chaotic?
That was pretty fucking chaotic, babe.
Okay. I'm glad I'm living up to what I'm saying, you know? I would say chaotic good. If I can prevent something from bad happening, I'm going to do it, but it's going to be in the most chaotic way and they're never going to see it coming.
Yeah.
But I will egg some shit on. Pop into that Discord sometimes and be like, ooh, look, Peaches is here. I'll be like, you think I'm going to stop this? Do you remember what they just said 30 seconds ago? Fuel to the fire. Background information. My partner and I met when I was 19 and he was 26. We met while he was still in a previous relationship. And for that, we were both extraordinarily regretful and wish it hadn't gone down that way.
So they cheated.
Correct.
Okay.
So he showed you that he was already looking outside of his relationship for some sort of intimacy need. I'm tying that back to the crossing the boundaries comment. When I point things out like that, my goal is to show you, like, follow the line. You have all these push pins on a board, right? And you're like, you don't know how they correlate. And then when you recognize something from the past that correlated to something that happened between you two, you'd be like, oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you're able to start to connect more of those things together and you start to be able to see the full image of who this person is.
Right.
He was not happy in his relationship. Using his words, he felt like a pet. He and she did not see their relationship becoming a long-term commitment. But he does struggle with confrontation, so he didn't break up with her until we had been on a few dates. And he was sure he wanted to pursue a relationship with me.
That's not confrontation. That's fear of being alone.
That's a backup plan.
Yeah. Yep. Wonder if he was living with her and needed another place to live.
That really sounds like a backup plan.
Sounds like a whole lot of things. I mean, I could really rip that whole mindset apart.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, but I could. There's a whole lot there.
That mindset tells me I'm not happy here, but I'm not happy enough to be alone.
Right. How do you not look at that situation as a woman and be like, yeah, this is probably not a very good idea?
Right. I'm unhappy to be alone.
Right.
When we met, he worked away, so he would be gone 4 weeks and back for 1 week. He had since explained to me that he would disassociate from everything because it was such long hours and time away. 12 hours a day, 28 days in a row. The whole time he was working away is blurred for him. He doesn't remember most of it on top of... I'm sorry, are you telling me he's having like blackout moments where he doesn't remember extended periods of time because he's working long hours?
I actually don't think that's legal. I got to be honest. I think that there's a cap that you can do that. Like you can only do so many days in a row at that schedule, and then you're required to take time off. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before.
I just want to clarify. Is that what's being said, though?
Sounds like he's just exhausted.
Okay. The whole time he was working away is blurred for him, and he doesn't remember most of it on top of what he did. On top of that, he did say that he took so many drugs and alcohol, he doesn't remember anything from that either.
Well, there you go. That's why. And how are you taking drugs and alcohol on that level if you're working 12 hours a day?
Right.
Because it doesn't give you a whole lot of time left. You figure an hour in the morning to get ready to go to work. Then you work 12 hours. You figure an hour afterwards to decompress. It's 14 hours. You got 10 hours left. You're going to get like an hour or two of downtime before you sleep to do it all over again because you're going to be fucking exhausted. Mm-hmm. So if you waste six of those 10 hours
drinking,
you just it's not a life.
I don't have a lot of experience with drugs, so I can only base my opinion on what he said. From very early on in our relationship, I found out through a mutual friend that he would visit strippers when he would go out with his friends until he was back. After, you know what? Good on that mutual friend. I would hope that somebody would tell me. Why are you looking at me like that?
Because I'm trying to see it from your standpoint. Because I can understand wanting to be told. But I have been that friend. And there's not a good place to be in that relationship. Because if I was friends with you and you were dating somebody else and that other person was doing something fucked up and I disagreed with it and I came and told you, I'm betraying that person. And I'm betraying the trust that that person put in me by letting me know that they're doing those things so that I can run and tell you. That makes me a snitch. What if it's
heard through the grapevine?
What do you mean?
Like, so it's mutual friends. Say he's going out with his buddies. And one of his buddies messages him and goes, "Oh, dude, we're at the strip club," and sends like a selfie. And he was like, "Oh shit, is that Greg?" And be like, "Oh damn, dude, like now am I gonna have to tell his girl that he's at the strip club?"
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just a me thing. I was raised that you don't do shit like that. I would say something to him. If I had a friend that was doing something foul and I was disagreeing with it, I would pull him aside and be like, "Look, you're fucking up. Like you got a woman at home, you got kids." I would have that discussion with him. And if he chose to continue doing it, I would just disassociate with that person, but I'm not getting involved in his personal life. It's just not my place to say shit like that. It's the way I've always been. I see that as snitching. Like you just don't do that shit. If you don't like the actions that people are taking in your life, just get them out of your fucking life. It's way easier than getting caught up in a triangle of drama of he said, she said. He's showing you the type of person he is. If she wants to be with that type of person, that's their decision.
How would she know though?
That's not my problem. I'm not doing that. I'm not getting involved in other people's drama. It's going to disrupt my peace. It's going to create a whole lot of bullshit. Like I'm good on that.
Is that more Instagram stuff?
No, that was Dakota. We got an email from somebody that just heard the interview earlier and said that they can't find his Better Built Dogs LLC anywhere. And I sent him a screenshot of it because it's prevalent information. It was something that I forgot to ask him for. Like, give me your social media account so that people can find you. So I screenshotted it and sent it to him as a text. And he was like, "That's funny because I've gotten a ton of content. Like a cunt. I've gotten a ton of people reaching out to me over the interview."
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a lot to learn about interviews. I was so excited to do that like there was a whole lot of things that I should have asked and done that I didn't do. I still think I did a good job.
Yeah.
I just hindsight.
I think it did go very well for the first one.
Yeah.
I going off script with your questions, I think was a really good idea.
Why is that?
Your questions were more geared towards the conversation and had a direction. It wasn't a blanket broad, well, this could really be asking me anything at this point. I guess I'm just going to pick one thing and give an answer.
Yeah.
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 It's also things that people couldn't Google.
Right. I really want to get to the point where I'm having interviews with people and it's a discussion. I think that's why Joe Rogan does so well. Because he asks questions and then listens and lets them answer. And once people get talking, he can really just sit there.
Yeah.
And they'll just go. And he's getting these phenomenal interviews with people that are talking about what they're interested in. And you can hear it in their voice and the passion. And like, he just has to, as a good question comes up, ask the question to get the information. And I don't watch a lot of Joe Rogan podcasts, but the ones that I have seen have all been people that I care about, like that he's interviewed, and are always really good interviews. And I've noticed it's because he doesn't try to direct the conversation. He just lets them talk and chimes in when he needs to. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with the interviews.
I would say that's what you did. It was you weren't trying to control the conversation. You would let it flow a little bit and you'd be like, okay, so going back to what we were discussing, like full circle, it was very fluid.
I'll get there. Thank you for that, though. That kind of made me feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Give myself a pat on the back of the neck, I guess, because I can't actually reach my back.
Yeah.
But
after thinking about it for 4 weeks, I brought up the topic wanting to explain that it made me uncomfortable. I had to think about what we were doing for a second.
Yeah. Yep. We went out yesterday and looked at those aprons and you had that backless dress on.
Yeah.
You know how hard it is to focus on anything when you're dressed like that. And you weren't dressed poorly. You looked really fucking good. Everything was covered. There was enough back skin there, though, that my mind was in the gutter the entire time we were in public.
I like showing myself off for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only eyes I dress for are yours. I know that you get a kick out, though, when people are like, damn, like that's his.
Oh, I love that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it when other dudes check you out when we're in public.
I couldn't care about those dudes.
No, I know you don't, which is part of the reason why I think I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it's the way a woman conducts herself with her man in public says a lot about who he is as a man. Mm-hmm. And it's an unspoken man thing. You can tell, like you can learn a lot about a man by the way him and his woman interact. You just can. You can tell about the respect in their home. You can the way he treats her. Like you can just by watching them two interact, you can ascertain a lot. Mm-hmm. So when other men are looking at you and see what we have in public, I'm like, yeah, motherfucker. Take notes, bitch. You might open up your little iPhone and hit the notepad and start documenting some shit because you need some help.
I love that for you.
I'm arrogant as fuck when we're in public.
I can't tell. Is it because I'm just a lady? Like, is it like the unspoken man thing?
It's a man thing. You ladies got your own shit too.
Oh yeah, no, we do. I make eye contact with women. We have our moment. There are someone who are differently, like, very judgmental. And there are some women who are like, okay, girl, high five. I see you. After thinking about it for 4 weeks, I brought up the topic, wanting to explain that it made me uncomfortable and that I wanted to hear his perspective. During the conversation, I didn't get to fully explain how I felt before he cut me off apologizing and saying that would never happen again.
So he's apologizing because he got caught.
Right. He wasn't even willing to listen about how you felt. He just wanted to avoid the conversation.
That's what it sounds like.
At the time, I felt that we had an open conversation, but in hindsight, I should have tried to further discuss or tried to explore his side more.
Right. There's a difference between harping on the conversation and actually having a discussion about it.
The discussion, the whole point is to understand each other.
Not to harp and nag.
Right. It's not to place blame. It's not to say you're vehemently wrong for this and you need to beg for my forgiveness on it. It's, I need to understand why you thought that this was okay, and I need you to hear how it hurt me. Accurate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's another way to look at it too, though, in that, it could be, I need to understand why you felt the need to do that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that has to be part of the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would have worded it that way because that's what I meant by why did you think that this was okay?
Right. But the connotation of that sounds judgmental and confrontational versus what made you feel the need to do that? Because that is a feeling versus what makes you think that's okay.
Well, the way that you just said that, I can see how that's attacking.
Right. But even without the tone behind it, how you word things matters. I don't know that there's a lot that goes into that. And if he has, I don't know, I'd be speculating a whole lot of shit in that whole scenario. And there's not enough information there for me to know why or how. And I don't want to assume things. But they started the relationship while he was with someone else. So him going to a strip club doesn't surprise me. There are people that go to strip clubs and it doesn't faze the people they're with anyways. There are couples that go to strip clubs together. I don't know. There's a whole lot there that's just speculation.
Speculative and speculation. Those are the two words you were mixing.
Yeah. That.
I got you.
I got tired out of nowhere.
I'm exhausted, yeah. So I just had a whole little moment within myself right now while you were going on that dialogue.
Yeah.
And I tuned in at the last bit to catch that mashup. So in doing these podcasts, it's a lot.
It is.
It's a lot for our relationship. It really is. Because I just had that moment of, I said what I said and you were like, that's kind of attacking. And I was like, I mean, when you say it that way, yeah. And you're like, no, the words. And emotional mind is like, okay, fuck you. Logical mind.
That's so fucking funny to me, dude. Oh, man.
Why is it so funny?
It's just the face. The whole thing. There was not even eye contact there when you said it. You looked down. Like,
I can't look at you and say it. Because I don't mean it.
Yeah.
It's my emotional mind.
That shit's funny.
Totally illogical. Logical brain was like, you realize that he just told you how to talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens a lot with these things.
It really does. And it's in context that would never come up organically for us.
Right.
Outside of a disruption.
And in that disruption, we wouldn't be able to have this conversation.
Right.
That would have, if we were in that scenario and you talked to me like that, even if you were calm about it, I would see that as you coming at me sideways.
And I would have no idea because I think that the tone, that's crazy.
Yeah. I think words matter more to me than other people because I listen for intent. Mm-hmm. So like, something was said earlier and I caught it during this podcast and I was like, did you hear that? I don't remember what it was. But it was the way that she worded it.
Yes.
It was so that she's still doing it. She was still arguing and raising her voice. Mm-hmm. I try to not do that. Yeah. Not I've stopped doing that. Like we had a comment come through on one of the live chats where somebody was hoping to fall back into love with their partner. Mm-hmm. Like you don't fall into anything. Like you make shit happen. Like I really believe that people word things intentionally.
Right.
So I'm listening to how you word things. So you saying to me, what makes you think that's okay is an aggressive thing versus why do you feel the need to go and do that when you could have come to me and we could have had this intimacy at home? It's a very different, I feel that's just a different way to have that conversation because I think the one is an I statement, one's a you statement. Because you're making, I guess maybe that's not true.
They're both a you statement.
Right, but one is an accusation and one is a question. I guess maybe they're both questions. I don't know. I don't know why it comes across that way to my brain. I really don't. I could sit here and speculate all day, but...
So, they are both questions, and they are both you statements. The first way that I said that, what made you think that was okay, to me is like an exploration question. After hearing what you said of, why did you feel the need to seek that out when you have it at home? I don't know. It feels warmer to me. Like that's more of an inviting question that I'd be more inclined to answer. I would still answer the other question. Probably would have been with an air of, you're right. I get it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, dope. Because I was having a real hard time trying to explain why it made my brain do what my brain did. And now your brain's doing it too. So
I get it.
Hopefully all of theirs is as well. And everybody's like, okay, we're all on board now because.
That's the difference between warm water feeling soft and cold water feeling pointy.
Your autism showing.
I get it. Like the first one, what made you think that's okay? Even though it said...
Cold water feels pointy?
It does, yeah.
I've never heard that before.
You've never heard that?
No. Is that really a thing for you?
Yes.
How?
When I drink warm water, it feels soft. I don't know. When I drink cold water, it's pointy. It wakes me up. I feel it. Feels pointy.
You ever wish you could just live in somebody's brain for a little while?
Constantly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because then I'd be like, I know exactly what you mean.
So.
Because right now I'm just getting a kick out of the fact that you called cold water pointy. I think cold water feels crisp when you drink it.
That's apple juice for me.
Okay.
Soda's fuzzy to me.
Well, yeah, it's fuzzy to everyone. It's got carbonation in it.
Yeah. I'm going to stop.
Okay. Yeah, we probably should. We could do this for a long time.
I could keep going. I remember why I brought up the water pointy thing.
Because of the way those two statements feel.
Oh, yeah. The first one, after hearing yours, I was like, damn, that does sound kind of cold. The other one made me feel more safe.
Yeah.
But I've never heard it phrased that way.
Do you think that's a cognitive bias? Or do you think that the way you phrase that is something that you've heard, and the way that I phrase it is phrased that way because of the way that I've heard things? Or do you think that like...
Yes. I do believe that's a cognitive bias.
Yeah. I don't like to accuse people of shit.
Yeah. How does that come across as accusatory, though?
I don't know. I don't know why it comes across as accusatory, but it does. I don't know why. I really don't. It could be. Was
it the made you?
Huh?
What made you feel like that was okay? Like there was an outside influence that was like, okay, this is a good idea for me. Like it took away your...
I have no idea why it makes me feel that way. I would really have to sit down and like process that for a while. I think the gist of it is that it just feels like you're accusing me of some shit, or there's like a fuck you behind it. It could be a trauma response.
I wish I could have lived your life experience.
I'm really glad that you couldn't. Yeah. I wouldn't wish my fucking life on anyone. Now my life is dope as shit.
Right.
But I had to go through fucking hell to get here. I'm good on that. I don't want anybody to ever experience the shit that I went through.
I wish I could plug into your brain then.
That would be dope. Matrix that shit just so you can get a little bit of taste.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's I don't know. Anyways.
All right. Throughout the next year and a half, we would have discussions a few times about him crossing my boundaries. And as far as I knew, it's only happened 3 times.
Okay, so I'm going to pause you because at the beginning of this, she said that she's not going to refer to the strip club anymore. She's going to refer to it as crossing her boundaries. So every time she says that, we know that he's going to the strip club.
Correct.
So they had the original discussion. He said it would never happen again, and it's happened 2 more times since then.
Yes.
So,
or it's only happened 3 times. We would discuss a few times about him crossing my boundaries. Are you frustrated because I interrupted you?
No, I'm processing this email. We know that he was with somebody else when they started dating. So,
right.
so he started the relationship with her with another woman. He went to the strip club and said that he would never do it again. Mm-hmm. That it didn't even resolve the conversation, just kind of shut it the fuck down, apologized, and move past it. Has done it 2 more times since then. And after the conversation that we've had about a man and his word, there's a whole lot of red flags at the beginning of this. This entire thing is a problem for me.
Well, she said it had only happened 3 times. Does that mean 3 times prior to you finding out? Or 3 times since you found out and had the discussion that it would never happen again? Because if it happened 3 times prior to you finding out and it hasn't happened since then, and the conversation keeps being brought up because you're hurt, that's a different approach.
Right.
I would approach that differently.
Right.
Throughout this time, our communication became strained because as he became defensive and avoided conflict, I would let my feelings build up until I lashed out, creating a bit of a loop. I would also drink a lot to gain the courage to talk about my feelings because he would shut the conversation down, and I would become verbally aggressive in these conversations.
Liquid courage. So you were masking your shit to be aggressive. That's not healthy. You guys hear how unhealthy that is, right? Like, that is not how you fucking deal with conflict.
It's not.
Emotional frailty, episode 27, ladies and gentlemen. Every single email has had a hint of that.
It has. We came close to ending it, so we both decided that he would stop working away so that we could repair the relationship. And 6 months later, he proposed. I wish that you provided the clarification on whether it happened 3 times prior to you finding out and you were hung up on the fact that he was going to the strip clubs and that's why the conversations kept happening. Or did he continue to go after he told you it would never happen and that was the problem?
Well, either way, her response to the problem is also not conducive to resolution.
Right.
So regardless, they're both in the wrong in this. Mm-hmm. This entire thing is a rocking ship. This bitch is going to sink soon.
Right.
Like, there's no real foundation. There's no real buoyancy. There's no balance. There's a whole lot of things that have gone wrong, and she's matching that wrong.
Right. If he's becoming defensive and trying to avoid conflict because you're not approaching it as I need comfort in this moment.
No.
I know you told me that this is never going to happen again. I just need some reassurance. If you're attacking him, he would get defensive.
Right. There's a difference between what you just said and getting drunk and aggressive.
Right.
Because you feel the need to be heard and you want to get it off your chest, so you're going to get drunk and then be belligerent.
Right.
Because that's how abuse starts.
Correct. In that situation, if you're just off the bat attacking him because you're hurt by the fact that he went to the strip clubs, you're wrong in that. He is also wrong in getting defensive and avoiding the argument. That needs to be he needs to kind of help you come off that ledge a little bit. If it's he went to the clubs after he said he wouldn't, and you're trying to approach the conversations and he's becoming defensive, I could see how turning to drinking would kind of numb that pain a little bit. That's still wrong. Either situation is still wrong. In one scenario, somebody has a little bit more going on into that wrong than the other does.
Yeah, absolutely. If he went 3 times, so we'll approach this from both sides. If he went 3 times, said he wasn't going to go anymore and stopped. They had a conversation about it. He apologized, said it would never happen again, and it hasn't. And she didn't get over it because she didn't get it off or didn't feel heard or whatever the case may be. And she's continuously bringing up some shit that's no longer happening.
Right.
He has every right to be frustrated.
Right.
And now she's like, hey, I'm feeling a little distrust right now. Or however you want to word that to get reassurance in the moment. That's a different scenario than being like, I can't believe you did that.
Right.
But you need to also look at the overall scope of this relationship. He was with somebody else when you started dating. That's the first and foremost thing, which means there's already infidelity issues that are probably there. And then the other aspect of that is the strip club thing. If you had a problem with him going to a strip club, it's because deep down you know that he was with somebody else when you met him and you're worried about infidelity. You're worried about what could possibly be happening while you're at work or while he's at work for a month straight
days.
Or whatever it was. There's a lack of trust there. And because that lack of trust there and a lack of unknowing of what's actually happening and your own insecurity because of things that you lived through with him, that's a problem.
Yeah.
So even if he cleaned up his act and is not doing any of the things that he was doing in the beginning, because of that rocky foundation, you have a distrust with him and he's not going to ever be able to fix that because that's a you thing. You knew what was going on when you met him and you made the decision to play that role. The other aspect of that, if she caught him going to the strip club the first time and said, I won't ever do that again, and has since gone 2 or 3 more times, he's showing you that he can't be trusted.
Right.
I can understand why there's a problem. And if every time you bring it up, he shuts the conversation down, it's because he's not going to change. He's tired of you harping. He doesn't want to hear it. That's a problem.
Right.
The communication that you two are having about this, no matter how you look at this, is a fucking problem.
It is.
Yep. So now it doesn't matter which way we read the email because we've addressed both scenarios.
Okay. We came close to ending it, so we both decided that he would stop working away so that we could repair the relationship. And 6 months later, he proposed. In those 6 months, we had made progress. His not working away meant that he was more present, and we had more time to discuss not leaving it to 1 week per month. We got pregnant about a year later, and our son was due the month that we had planned to get married. Due to my pregnancy, I was extremely emotional. We had moved states away from all of our support network. I started to see so many changes in him where he was doing his best to be more open. However, he wasn't completely honest, and I would catch him in lies about the past and what happened. Keep going. Do you want to say your thought?
There's no reason. She's harping on shit that happened over a year ago at this point. She doesn't trust the man and decided to have a kid with him. Do you hear how this is going? Like, red flag, fuck up. Red flag, fuck up. Red flag, fuck up. Like, you're making decision after decision after decision, knowing that you're having issues with what's going on in the relationship. This is just as much your fault as it is his. At the beginning of the relationship, when all of this shit was going on and you were having problems, that was the opportune time to walk away and find somebody new instead of going through this. Now you have a kid with him. After everything that you went through, now you got a kid with him. And you're still having problems over shit that happened years ago that he feels is resolved. And you're finding out that he lied to you about some of it because he didn't want to fucking argue and fight with you or whatever the case may be.
Or he just didn't want to hurt you further.
Right. Or didn't want to lose you in the beginning. And you guys were still new and he was trying to work through shit and like... There's just so many things there. But why would you put yourself in a position in the beginning when things are fucked up to stick around and not get over things?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you knew who he was when you started dating him. You knew. There was no fucking, like, well, maybe he didn't do that.
Right. I had a lot of time to myself and my anxiety would build up. So I started to break his trust by reading through the messages on his phone. And it was at this point that I realized that the last time, as far as I know, he crossed my boundaries was the weekend before he proposed. And he had potentially had a threesome with people he crossed my boundaries with and found search history of a brothel. However, I didn't have exact proof, just search history. At this point, I was 7 months pregnant and ready to leave.
Should have left before you were 7 months pregnant.
So with all the information that I just had, I am assuming that the 3 times that she knew about it happening
Or after the fact.
was after the fact.
Yeah.
And that's why those conversations kept happening. They worked on things, and now she knows it happened. What did she say? 2 weeks prior to the proposal? Oh, the weekend.
The weekend.
Before he proposed. So history is repeating itself, and you are now 7 months pregnant at this point and ready to leave. We both wanted him to be there for the birth of our son, so I stayed for another 5 months until our relationship became toxic. And he suggested I should go back home so that we could try to keep a civil relationship for our son.
So that relationship wasn't toxic before then?
It was toxic before then.
It was toxic since the fucking beginning.
Yeah.
I don't feel sorry for people like this. I really don't. If I'm like, hey, that stove is hot, don't touch it, and you touch it, I'm not going to feel sorry for you. I'm not going to care that you burnt your hand. I'm not driving to the fucking hospital. You did that to yourself. Mm-hmm. The signs are there.
Right.
Slow down. Children at play. Stop. Yield. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. I mean, what the fuck do you need? A neon? Like, you did this to yourself. I understand why people don't like me.
Yeah.
I do. I get it. And I don't care. Mm-hmm. You could not like me. If you do stupid shit, I'm going to tell you you're doing stupid shit.
Right.
It doesn't faze me one way or the other because I'm not the one that's got to live with your decisions.
Yeah. Somebody who does have to live with this decision, though, is her son.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It makes me a little bit sad knowing that a pregnancy lasts only 9 months and she left 5 months after that. Soon after we split up, I ran into my ex-boyfriend, who I started seeing. However, this didn't last long as we were both young. And now that I had a kid, my focus wasn't on drinking and partying, so I struggled to see a long-term relationship with him. I do know that my son's dad did assume that I had been talking with my ex while we were together because of how fast we started seeing each other, but that wasn't the case, and I have explained that to him, but he is still doubtful.
Of course he is.
Are you guys back together? Why would it matter?
Right.
If you were seeing somebody or not?
It shouldn't.
Because you were separated.
Right.
They got back together, right? After being separated for about 9 months, we tried to make it work again. One of my partner's most redeeming qualities is that he's an amazing father and provider for our child. We have been back together for 3 years now, and we have not had any issues in our relationship.
Then why bring all that shit up? If that's not currently going on and your relationship has been dope for 3 years, why is that even relevant?
Okay, because now I'm going to skim because everything is super dope. COVID hit. They struggled financially. They have multiple children now. Next paragraph. Since he has started working away, it has been incredibly hard because he had to go back to COVID, due to COVID. As I get triggered just dropping him off at the airport. So I spend a lot of time alone sorting through my anxiety and trying to take note of important things that we need to discuss and separate it from what is just overthinking. As a big concern that keeps coming up for me is that in the last 3 years, we hadn't had the money for him to cross my boundaries, and now we will.
So you still don't trust him? That's what happens when you build foundations in quicksand.
She says, I don't understand how I trust that he wouldn't hurt me, but if he did, I don't believe that he would tell me.
Right.
Of
course he wouldn't.
Is that unreasonable? She's asking that.
What unreasonable? For him to tell her?
I don't understand how I trust that he wouldn't hurt me, but if he did, I don't believe that he would tell me.
Of course he wouldn't. I don't understand. What do you mean, is that unreasonable? That's the next line.
Right.
Is that unreasonable? Is what unreasonable? He didn't tell you all the other times that he did shit wrong. He hid it from you until you found out. You think he's going to go and have a threesome and be like, hey, babe, guess what I did last night? I smashed 2 broads at once. You should have seen it. There was mirrors on the ceiling. It was amazing.
There's one more sentence. She said, I do see him as a good man with so many amazing qualities, but I know that he can be a people pleaser that avoids confrontation. That's just part of his personality.
What does that got to do with him cheating?
So what are you asking us? I don't understand. Everything's been dope for 3 years, which is fantastic. I'm glad that you guys were able to get your shit together and things are going great and he's stepped up and he's being honest with you. That does great for the son and the other children that you have. That's amazing. Are you asking us to ease your anxiety in the fact that if he did do something that he wouldn't tell you? Because I agree with my husband, he's not going to tell you.
Right. It's a behavioral pattern.
Even if he does do it, would he tell you out of guilt? No, he might realize I just really fucked up and this time she's going to leave me.
Right. Well, she also said he's a people pleaser. So in the event that he did actually cheat, he's not going to tell her because he doesn't want her feelings.
Because he's a people pleaser.
So even if he's not guilty and not ashamed of what he did, he's not going to just come forth and be like, hey, guess what I did last night? It's just not going to happen.
I don't understand why you emailed us.
What I want to know is during the 9 months that they were separated, what did they do to work on their shit?
Yeah.
When they got back together, what was the expectations and stipulations that were put on the relationship? What are the boundaries that were put on the relationship? What conversations were had to cement a new foundation moving forward that you are not going to accept less than this? Because that would have mattered more to me. That 9-month breakup and what you guys did during that 9 months means way more to me than everything that happened before that.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to be honest. If she would have just said that in the beginning, he went to strip clubs. I found out we had a rough patch. We're back together now. It's been 3 years. Everything's going fantastic. And this is what we worked on when we were on a break. I would have preferred that email.
Right. Well, we had a whole lot more information.
Right.
This is why we say we need details. You know what she did? Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know what to say. It sounds like she's in the midst of an anxiety attack and she emailed us hoping that we would give her something to ease it a little bit. And I don't know what to tell you. I don't know the man he is now.
Right. We can't see your life.
She said that he's been extremely open and honest and in most circumstances is the first one to bring up the discussion. And he's been amazing emotionally and financially.
So she's super fucking insecure because of things that happened in the past because they didn't work through it.
Yeah.
When we ask for...
I just remembered we have that follow-up email she sent.
Go ahead.
So 7 years, it is just his personality, additional info.
Okay.
Since sending you my original email, I have taken some time to think about what I wrote and where I can improve my approach to our relationship. I can see a lot of my anxiety stems from a lack of understanding of my partner's feelings and wants in our relationship. He has spent a lot of time over the last 3 years helping me to feel safe and secure in our relationship. But I can only imagine from his perspective, as he has expressed, that he hopes I don't leave him, which in retrospect can be a pretty anxiety-inducing situation to be in for 3 years.
Why would he feel that way? They were already apart for 9 months.
Right.
They reset. They came back together, hopefully worked through their shit, and decided to try again. If they spent that 9 months apart and had no resolution to anything that happened prior to that 9-month break, doesn't mean nothing.
Right.
But if they had any type of conversation to work towards their new foundation and how they're going to live their life moving forward, that 9 months is a reset to me. In my opinion, everything that happened beforehand doesn't matter anymore. You guys have decided to forgive and move past. Mm-hmm. So why would he feel like you're going to leave him?
Probably because she keeps bringing it up.
Right. Or is it because she dated her ex while you guys were separated, and maybe he feels like you were talking to dude before you guys separated because that was his MMO? Because it's a real possibility.
It could be.
When people accuse you of cheating all the time, 90% of the time is because they're fucking cheating. Otherwise, they wouldn't have that insecurity. That's a real thing.
It is a real thing, yeah. In a recent situation, he jokingly complained about the relationship I had with my ex after we split up. But because it was a joke, I brushed past it and didn't bring up the topic again.
No, it wasn't no fucking joke. Old boy was telling you how he felt and trying to be funny about it. Because he's a people pleaser and doesn't like confrontation, per your previous email.
Last night, after being on the phone with him, I asked him about it and apologized for not acknowledging it sooner. And he did admit that he didn't believe that he had animosity about it, but we could chat about it before he got home.
People pleasing, but still wants to have that conversation.
Right. He has animosity about it.
Yeah, he does.
He does.
The shit hurt him just as much as you were hurt, and you guys didn't work through your shit.
Everything he did in our past was a result of his past relationship, and not feeling valued in that relationship and thinking back to my partner avoiding confrontation can probably be very difficult for him to bring up topics that bother him. I'm sorry, are you excusing him?
That's exactly what the fuck
crossing
she's
your
doing.
boundaries?
Yep. And she's blaming his previous relationship that she started dating him in on the way that he was behaving in the beginning of theirs.
No.
That's why you're supposed to work on yourself in between your relationships and move past things. So you're not bringing baggage from your past relationship into your current one.
I'm absolutely flabbergasted right now. He does not get to blame his past relationship on the fact that he disrespected you the weekend that he proposed to you by going and crossing your boundaries.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of wrong in all of this. Neither one of them are in the right. They both fucked up a lot, and it doesn't sound like they did anything to correct it.
I agree.
That first email painted him in a very bad light.
It really did.
And that's, we tell people all the time, if you're going to email us, take some fucking accountability. Mm-hmm. This is what I did. This is what he did, so that we have an understanding of where the fallout is happening.
Yeah.
We didn't get that. I don't, that email frustrated me. Like, it's frustrating to hear that shit because there's not accountability there. And like, you knew what you were getting into and you did it.
Right.
So like, for me, my frustration's not in what's happening in their relationship. It's that they fucking knew what they were doing when they did it.
I agree.
And then they're going to play a victim in it all and be upset that things are playing out the way that they're playing out when you fucking knew what you were getting yourself into because you were a part of it. It's like if two people break the law and one of them snitches on their friend, like, bitch, you knew what the fuck you were doing. Like, don't try to get somebody else in more trouble so that you can get out of it. You both fucked up. Just own your shit.
Right.
I don't like that shit. And that 9 months, I really want to know what that 9 months looked like. Because they could have taken that 9 months and did a whole lot of work on themselves and had a whole lot of really deep, meaningful conversations, expressed each other's hurt, had conversation not in conflict where they weren't living together and didn't have to worry about that shit, and fixed all of their shit, poured a new foundation, so to speak. And their relationship could be dope as fuck right now because they took that 9 months to figure out what the fuck was going on and starting over. Mm-hmm. And that didn't happen because they're still harboring shit from fucking years ago.
I don't know. I'm processing everything from that email. I don't know how it makes me feel. I'm just very uncomfortable right now.
Why?
I don't know. The excusing of going and crossing the boundaries literally up until the proposal and blaming it on the previous relationship and not feeling valued. You weren't in that previous relationship the weekend before you proposed to me.
Nope.
You were with me. I don't know.
Well, that proposal happened and they split for 9 months. So it's not even like the proposal happened after they got back together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I really am. I am of mind that they should have figured their shit out before getting back together.
I agree. Yeah, I don't know what that... Were you looking for advice?
Yeah, there wasn't even questions there other than...
I'm just sitting here dazed and confused.
Yeah.
Next one's called I Feel Guilty. Hey guys, if you enjoyed that, found it entertaining, funny, or even learned something you didn't know before, share it. And if you're not subscribed, why aren't you? And for those of you who want to support us, get access to exclusive content and live streams, we do have a Patreon. All the links are in the description.